This is a charger for the drone battery that I use. I took one of these down to Mexico when Brad and I were down there for the WSOP. Seem to have left it down there in Mexico. The good news is that I lost it on the way back rather than on the way down there, so that I could capture spicy today, boys and girls, despite the fact that I forgot a hoodie and it's freezing in here. Still feeling a little on the spicy side. Maybe it's the haircut. The spiciness is exhibited in one of the very first hands that I got dealt into in today's 5-10 game here at the Bellagio. For whatever reason, I decided it was prudent to triple barrel away with the Jack 10 offsuit on a Queen 8, 2 heart flop, offsuit 6, deuce of hearts. For whatever reason, sometimes you just gotta try. And I do have my reasons. I mean, A, on the flop, it's hard to flop trips. It's hard for him to have too much. Granted, he can continue with a wide variety of hands, such as flush draws, straight draws, combo draws, and 8. It's kind of hard to make trips though. The turn is a brick, so he's probably gonna give up all of his straight draw holdings. On the river, the flush comes in, and I have a heart in my hand. So when he checks it over to me on the river, it feels kind of mandatory once we've come this far with Jack high. Can't show that hand down. Blocks and flushes. And it feels like he would bet his stronger hands on the river in order to avoid me checking back. Anyway, we get a little bit owned in this hand when, after I put out the river bet, he check jams all in. So yeah, kind of a rocky start to today's session. They're back to 8-handed here at the Bellagio. The 6-handed poker didn't last for too long. We're back to 8-handed play now. To be honest with you, I'm kind of sad to see the 6-handed play go. I did like the additional elbow room and the leg room, as well as playing short-handed. Get to play more hands more often. But I suspect the general playing pool prefers a more full table. And at least it's not 9-handed. If we can avoid going back to 9-handed forever, I'd be a fan of that. Anyway, poker continues. Later on, we get pocket jacks and raise it up to $30. The player on the button puts in a 3-bet to $110. And since I opened from early position, I think I'm just gonna flat call here and not put in a 4-bet and play for stacks with pocket jacks. The flop comes down Queen 10 6 rainbow. I check it and my opponent checks back. Turns to 4 of clubs. I check again, and this time he bets $80. Very straightforward call. River's an offsuit 7. Check it over to him one more time, and I really don't want to see a bet here in this spot because it's gonna be kind of tough. Our hand is kind of middling strength, but I will be tempted to call sometimes. Anyway, it doesn't come to that. He checks it back and we have the winner here. Shortly after that, there was some more spiciness. I played a very large hand with a very mediocre holding. There was a limp and then a raise, $30 from the cutoff. The button calls, and we looked down at 8-7 of spades in the small blind. I think that $30 raise doesn't really exude a ton of strength following a limp, so I decided to put in the 3-bet with a suited connector. It's going to be deceptive a lot of the times. We can represent a lot of hands on high card boards, and when we connect on middling card boards, people aren't really going to see that coming too often. So I put in the 3-bet to $150. Limper folds, the initial raiser calls, and the button calls as well. We flop ourselves top pair on 8-4 deuce with 2 clubs and 1 spade. So definitely going to c-bet this for value. I bet $220 into my 2 opponents. The first player gets out of the way and folds, and the player on the button does not get out of the way. He jams this entire stack in there. I have a lot of history with this player. He's a lot of fun to play with, and he can have a wide variety of hands here. Again, it's a board that's not going to really look like it should have connected too hard with my hand. And granted, I wouldn't call top pair connecting too hard with my hand, but then again, it's top pair. And it's a 3-bet pot, and it's a little bit deceptive. So all those factors combined leads me to go ahead and play for stacks with the 8-7, top pair, 7 kicker. It's an odd instance where I ask my opponent if he wants to run it once or twice. Usually I don't say much, but once or twice. Not feeling super confident about this top pair. Granted, I'm going to get $1,500 in. I'm confident enough to do that. He rolls over the 5-6 of clubs, so he's got himself an absolute monstrous draw. And if you look at the matchup here with the two-way straight draw plus flush draw versus the top pair and some backdoor stuff, it's actually a pretty fair fight. It's basically a coin flip with the tiny edge going to my opponent. But anyway, we're off to see a turn and river twice. So on the first board, he makes a flush right away, and on the second board, he does not improve, thankfully. So You know, just your casual $3,000 pot with the 8-7 one pair of 8s. Exciting, spicy, told you, spicy. A little bit later on we find pocket aces and raise it up to $30. There's a call, and then short stack puts in a 3-bet up to 140. I'm gonna put in the 4-bet and just look to get it in versus the short stack. I raise it up to $320. Player in the middle gets out of the way, and we do in fact get it in. We go ahead and run it twice. I don't say anything, but yes, we want to run twice. That's fine by me. And we scoop both boards this time. Scooping them both this time. So that works out well. And things are moving in a better direction than they did right off the bat in this spicy, spicy poker session thus far.
I have something important to say to you guys. It's important that every so often you guys make a pilgrimage to Secret Pizza here at the Cosmopolitan. I don't get here often enough because there's no poker room here at the Cosmopolitan, but it's right next to the Bellagio and it's right next to the Aria, so there's really no excuse to not come over to Secret Pizza more often. A lot of you guys can get away with not coming here as often. A lot of you guys don't live here in Las Vegas. I do. I play here at the Bellagio and the Aria pretty frequently, so no excuse. All right, so there was an interesting hand that went down that I really wasn't sure what to do, and as a result of that, I posted it. Mainly I wanted to get the opinion of my buddy Benton Blakeman, who is the lead coach of the Hand History Lounge. I wanted to get his thoughts on the hand. So it starts off pretty straightforward. I open up ace queen of diamonds, $30 in early position. The player in the cutoff puts in a 3-bet up to $90, standard 3-bet sizing. We're about $1,500 effective, so actually you could have probably made it maybe a little bit more, but since he's in position, I think the $90 is pretty standard. Folds back to me, obviously never folding. I make the call and we go heads up to a flop, which comes down queen high, but it's super wet. I check into my opponent and he bets $140. Sizing up there rather than a down bet sizing makes sense, again, because the board is super wet and dynamic. So nothing too out of the ordinary here thus far. I go ahead and make the call. Turn is a little bit on the miserable side. It's the 6 of spades. So it connects with the board even further, completes straight draws, completes flush draws. We don't have any spades in our hand, so that could be a little bit worrisome. Check it over to my opponent, he bets $300. So this is where I'm really not exactly sure and what spurred me to post the hand in the Hand History Lounge. Let me know what you guys think. Comment down below. What do you do in this spot? Raising is of course out the window, so that leaves calling and evaluating the river or just folding since the card is so miserable. At least on first appearances, we don't have any spades in our hand. The board is so connected now. One pair went from a good, strong top pair, top kicker hand down to kind of an average, mediocre holding. So yeah, I don't know. What do you guys think? Call or fold? Live another day? Battle in other pots? Or fight for every pot? Don't let him run over with some sort of ace of spades X hand. If I had to pick a perfect bluffing hand, maybe something like ace of spades, offsuit jack. Something that doesn't want to just call pre-flop, something that makes for a better 3-bet bluffing candidate pre-flop, and then has some barreling opportunities such as the ace of spades. So I can't leave you guys just hanging here. I got to tell you how the hand played out, what the result was. I went ahead and made the call here on the turn. A lot of you guys probably could have guessed that's what I did. The river brought the queen of spades, so 4 spades now, but also giving us trips. I check it, and this time my opponent checks back, and usually that's a pretty good sign. I go ahead and roll it over, and my opponent slowly slides his hand into the muck. So that's good news. The good news is that we win the hand. It definitely leaves us a little bit on the curious side, a little bit to a lot on the curious side, because we're not sure if we sucked out on him or if he just kind of gave up with some sort of hand, but considering that it was the 4th spade, that sort of eliminates the ace of spades X holdings. Chances are we got lucky, maybe versus pocket aces or pocket kings. Tough to know for sure exactly, but we do know that we are scooping that pot in, and we go from being stuck in this session to turning it around. Like I said earlier, we were down somewhere around $600 or maybe even more. I think we were down $800 at one point in this session. Into the game for $2,600 and cash out of the game for $3,601. $1,001 worth of profit. Celebrating with some pizza. I already ate one of the slices. There's one left. Oh, and if you're wondering why it looks so weird like that, like why are the peppers like that, you can add toppings to the slices. Not too many places where you can add toppings to the slice.